You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter on iWalter on Sunday. It's at 10 o'clock on November 29th, 2015. Welcome back if you do listen to me. I really don't have much to discuss, so I'll make that known now. Show will probably be, I always say this, I say it every single time, but honestly this will be a very short show because I actually got to get on the normal sleep pattern schedule. I went out with a friend last night and was out pretty late, and then I stayed up even later yet, so I need to get up early for a doctor's appointment. I got to get back on a normal schedule, and I have to go back to work, which I hope I will be. Hey, first off, I saw this on a friend's webpage and on Facebook, and I actually had a comment about this because I think it's very depressing that, you know, the way our country's going, actually. It says silence of consent. It was from a friend of Valerie, and basically it's a story, it's a video, but it says Obama vetoes troop pay raises and military spending bill. Instead plans on spending billions on bringing derelict Muslims to the USA. So there you go. That's how much our president cares about the people who are keeping our country safe. He doesn't care. He actually is going to give tons more money towards what he thinks is more important, which is allowing more Muslims in our country and overpassing the people who are keeping our country safe, the military people, by not giving them any type of raise, any acknowledgement for what they're doing. So, it's going to be definitely the destruction of our country. So, there was, on a different note, I have some lighter stories I actually placed on my Facebook. I actually read a lot of different articles last night when I got home on the new episode of Doctor Who. It's the second to the last, I believe. And it was actually pretty damn good. I'll give it that much credit. They actually bring back, at the very end, the return of Doctor Who returning back to Gallifrey. Well, that was pretty cool. And it was a solo act pretty much for the entire show of Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi. He was actually, had no companions and nobody else to reflect off of pretty much for the whole episode. So that was definitely different. That was kind of nice, too. Gives him a chance to show himself. But I read a lot of articles. They said that's probably one of the best besides Deadly Assassin with Tom Baker. And I figured out else, which other one they mentioned. They did mention another one where the Doctor was basically, whoever the actor was who was playing the character of the Doctor, did so by himself pretty much for most of a show. And this was considered either the second or maybe possibly the third one. Definitely they mentioned Deadly Assassin, which was an excellent episode. That one, Tom Baker actually had to fight off the Master, but he was basically doing so through the databanks on Gallifrey. I actually read another one. I kind of glanced at them like I did with most of these articles. One, because it kind of caught my attention on consoles, and it said one of the big game systems is having a huge year. And I thought they were going to say Xbox, but it was actually the PlayStation 4 has been doing very well. It's actually a cheaper system to begin with. Unfortunately, though, the only thing I had that I didn't like about it is it strictly is just a game console. You can't do anything else with it at all. That's what I kind of liked about the old PlayStations, you could actually use them as an all-around entertainment system. Xbox actually went that direction with the Xbox One. So I originally upgraded my PlayStation 3 for a 4, which was something I regretted after doing so. Because I really don't play that many games once in a blue moon. You know, I like playing newer games though, so you're getting forced to buy the newer systems. But the bottom line was I actually would have been fine with the PlayStation 3, but I already had traded it in and went for the PlayStation 4, which was just basically no more than just a gaming console. It could do nothing else. You couldn't even play movies on there. So, you know, the Xbox One actually did allow you to do more than just watch or play video games. You could actually rent movies, watch movies, go to these different things like Netflix or Hulu or whatever. You could watch whatever movie you wanted to watch. So it was all around entertainment system. And you can watch TV, which I do run my cable box through the Xbox. So it's got a lot more features, and I've been happy with that. Again, the stories are going to be very lighthearted. It was kind of a hectic weekend to begin with for everyone, I think, so why make it more difficult, which I do have some stories that will probably raise people's eyebrows, I would assume. Either way, I did hang out with a friend. It was funny. One thing that stuck in my mind, I guess, I didn't think about it at first, was somebody I knew from years ago who apparently really their only interest was how to better themselves through you. I'm not going to mention any names or who this person is, and you know, I was making this before I go back to my stories. A person who basically just uses people, and I know I'm going to get questions from people I talk to, but they basically they're almost like I guess would be best word, and I am using this correctly, trust me, because I'm mentioning somebody in particular. I like to think of them as a succubus, somebody who basically just sucks you dry. I know it's more of a sexual term, and when they're done with you, they just lose interest in you. You know, I've had that over the years where people, yeah, there is an incubus too. Succubus is a female sexual predator who sucks you dry or whatever. And a incubus is just a male version of that. If I want to, which I really had no interest in doing, but just so I won't stand corrected, I will look it up. A demon assuming female form to have sexual intercourse with men in their sleep. Compared to an incubus. So, yeah, I am, believe it or not, I don't want to go into grave details, but it just seems that it didn't dawn on me at first, but this person I like to consider a succubus continues to do that with other victims. I like to think of them as where they basically advance themselves through others, their lifestyle, and I'll leave it at that. So, no names will be mentioned, well, simply for the protection of myself. I really could care less about anybody else. But, you know, you always seem like, okay, you know, people seem like, oh, they're doing so well in how they advance, but they do it through harming others or, you know, basically, you know, drain them dry financially and emotionally, and I've been down that avenue more than once over the years, and it just seems like some people just, I won't say who, just, you know, friends would know who this is, who continue just to do that, you know, had taken advantage of me, and now just apparently they're just doing it with somebody else. Now, in their eyes, they don't feel like they're doing that, but I kind of could see it, you know, being the outsider now. It's more obvious what they're doing. Their interest is not in any type of serious relationship. It's more of one that will help maintain their lifestyle and their way of, basically their lifestyle. So I just wanted to point that out. I kind of figured that out because, when you have more time, especially on the weekends, you figure this stuff out. Conversing with friends on the phone or meeting up with certain friends. But some people just don't wish to see the truth. Actually, it was kind of interesting. I have to thank my one friend, Matt, on a different story, too. Because I've said this for years, and I've always been accused of, like, well, you don't have any evidence, and how did you figure this out? My one friend, Matt, asked me. But I said for years, I know in school that there was a thing that I called grade inflation, where people weren't given grades because they're more intelligent. They actually got grades in high school. Mainly, we were talking about college, though. Their grades were given to them because of who they, maybe their background, sexual origins, their ethnicity, but never for, mainly that. And it wasn't because, hey, they're super smart. Because a friend, basically, my friend Matt, if I heard him correctly, just was like almost, lack of a better word, is like he was perplexed of like, how do these people who just don't show up to, he's back in school, my friend Matt, which I give him more power because I couldn't do it again. I had a hard time the first time. I barely made it through school. I can't say I barely passed because I actually did fairly well, I felt. But, I had to work for everything I got as far as grades go. And I said I've noticed it through school, and most of it was just, I told him it was just an educated guess, but my guess was actually 100% correct because he's seeing it now too, and I'm glad he said that. So I have to say to Matt, thank you so much for clarifying my belief and gut feeling and a little bit of research, but mostly it was just an educated guess that yes, people don't get grades, straight A's because they're doing well. They're just, minus my friend Matt. I don't mean him, but just because of who they are, and they can just basically cry wolf and get away with it, and in the bitter end get pull out with like just getting grades handed to them. And he used a term, which again, I really thank Matt for doing that, grade inflation. I've said this probably 20 years ago. I've noticed this stuff happening. Oh, that's not true. These people are actually really smart. They're not using their looks or their racial background or anything else to get these grades. And I said, yeah, they actually are. And now he kind of, and not to get him in trouble, that's not my intention, but he's seen it firsthand where he said, well, okay, these he known people had known people the few semesters he's been back in school who don't show up to class, don't do any of the work, don't hand any of the necessary work to get a decent grade, but yet end up passing and possibly getting like A's. And he said, he used the term again over and over again, grade inflation. I was like, yeah, I mentioned this a long time ago. I said this was going on, but it was just me, the boy who cried wolf too many times. But after hearing my friend Matt actually physically saying, yeah, grade inflation is a real thing. How did you know about it for all this time? It's like, again, my best answer was not to get into a long discussion, was an educated guess. But that guess was also on what I've seen, what I've experienced in school. And it actually, almost you want to put it, it's probably not the best term, but I would almost say like a hypothesis that was proven to be 100% true. And it just became, I think, in the recent years, more apparent about this grade inflation thing because of our, more people, especially what happened in, I think it's, the University of Yale, where people now are just seem to get whatever they want by just claiming they are victimized. I mentioned this the other day. I mentioned to a friend, which is absolutely true again, where, what was it? I mentioned to him about, I thought it was a school locally. I can't remember precisely where it was, but Sorry about that. I just bumped my mic. Hopefully I didn't set anything off. Let me just check. That a school actually was given grief counseling or whatever for people who got, I don't think that's the right word, because grief is basically for somebody who had passed away or got murdered or whatever. But that's what I'm going to use. That's the term I'm going to use because so apparently people were very upset on the fact that somebody had brought on their notebook, their college notebook, or notebook. I shouldn't say notebook, like a laptop. They had on the back of there a sticker of a Confederate flag, which caused a lot of grief. So, I mean, how ridiculous is that? And people are, the person got reprimanded for having a Confederate flag on their laptop. That's ridiculous. I mean, people had anarchy flags years ago. When I went to school, they wore anarchy T-shirts. Why didn't people get reprimanded for doing that? It's just ridiculous. It's just, again, who you are and what is the outcome? How do they fix these problems? Well, we just basically give them whatever they want, and that would even include better grades. This is just my assumption, but again, he did mention it. I think my friend Matt is a very smart man. I think he does know what he's talking about, and if he used the word grade inflation repeatedly, he definitely not only seen it, but I do take what he says as being like he knows what he's talking about. I don't know how else to put it, but he definitely knows what he's talking about. He's not just saying words. He's actually making, most of the time he makes, total sense, and this would be one of the times. So, that was definitely refreshing to hear somebody actually, after me complaining for so many years, that I actually do know what I'm talking about. It's not me just talking out of my ass. Anyway, there were some really good articles I've noticed the last couple days. This one was yesterday, I believe, on Breitbart. Or is it Breitbart? Watch Black grassroots activists call out Democrats Mayor Rahm Emanuel. And basically, she was talking about, not a real long article, but she's basically saying the Democrats haven't done anything for this black woman. They always say how in Chicago and everything, where Black lives matter, but nobody, and especially on the Democratic side, they're not doing anything to help the black community whatsoever. People are getting killed, and it's just being pushed under the rug or swept under the rug, and it's not being taken seriously at all. So this woman just basically spoke up. I got to give her credit for doing that. And it was an activist who was basically coming out and saying the Democrats aren't helping us at all. It's like, yeah, well, kind of told you people, on the people, when I mean that, I mean people on the Democratic side, that, you keep on voting mistakenly the wrong way over and over again, thinking that you're going to get a different solution or outcome, but it's always pretty much the same thing over and over again. Like you haven't, the Democratic people who are finally learned their lesson, the conservative Republican Tea Party side has been telling you for years to, it's not, you're not going to get a different solution out of who you vote for. If you vote Democrat every time, you're going to get the same solution, which is no change at all. In fact, it'll make it worse for everyone. I just wanted to mention that too. There's a couple articles that I'm trying to look for now because a friend I might have posted those, and I actually can't find them. So, yeah, I'm slowing down on what I'm talking about because I thought I could kind of find it. The one on that I just mentioned was one. Here it is. Yeah, it was an article from the New York Daily News. And it says Pennsylvania, so I thank Todd for this one. It was actually today. Pennsylvania police chief resigns 1 week after swearing-in ceremony over leaked email containing racial slurs. So there you go again. Everyone else, except I've said this before, and it's been proven over and over again, except like basically the white male in United States. Everyone else is basically victims of something. But yeah, if you're a white male, you're the bad guy. You're the white devil. You're the evil one who creates all these problems that needs to be taken down. And no matter what anybody else says, it's well, they have the right to discriminate, belittle, slander anybody they feel is necessary, and nothing will be addressed on whatever anybody else says. But if you're a white male, if you say one wrong word or even just look at somebody cross-eyed, you're automatically going to pay with your life. And meaning you won't have a job ever again. You're going to be prosecuted, sentenced to jail, probably even execution, the way it's going now. But it's such a double standard that it's just widened more and more of, the true victims are the white male in today's society. Anyway, this is a funny story. I haven't read it. I'm just going to probably post it on my Facebook. I just saw it on the background, so I'll just mention it. Heinous husband accused of prostituting wife to over 2,700 men. So there was a story I told a friend, and I don't know where I seen it, where it was locally. There was women prostitute themselves somewhere in Pennsylvania, and they got busted. We had brought this discussion up, and yeah, I mean, people, he asked me what location was, and honestly, I don't know. I just know I had it somewhere in my mix that I might have mentioned a few days ago. But I did want to mention about this one about the one I just mentioned about that prostitution ring, and then plus about this guy just being basically removed from his job because of an email. So, apparently, it's funny that reminds me of 1984, George Orwell, where you literally had thought police, and you had you couldn't think out, you couldn't think your own thoughts. Like everything was being dictated to you, and it really is that way. But unfortunately, it's only one social or one group of people who are being singled out, and that's the white male. I mean, people don't want to seem like they don't want to believe that, but it's like, I hate to tell you, it's actually the truth. Deny it all you want, but the truth really bleeds through, and that is, unfortunately, the absolute truth. So what is there to lie about? Because I'm not. Anyway, I had another story when I was mentioning about prostitution. It's just funny. Some of these are really pathetic too. But this one actually said, teenage prostitutes selling sex for price of sandwich as Greece crippling recession pushes price to an all-time low. Some women in Greece are selling sex for the price of a sandwich. Well, you know what? Our country is actually headed in the same direction. We were mentioned that we were heading in the same direction as Greece. Well, here's what we have to look forward to. Price of sex session has fallen from £50 or whatever. It's 50 euro dollars to just €2 in some cases. Prostitution is legal, but only 10 of the 525 Greek brothels have a license. I guess you have to have a license to be, even though it's legal. See more of the latest new updates on the bait crisis. This was actually 2 days ago. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. Yeah, it's gotten so bad, the recession. in Greece, which we are again heading the same direction, which nobody wants to do anything about it, that prostitutes are making no more than €2 in their business. So that's really bad. Here's another sad story about a way I found. This was actually on Breitbart, and it said homeless veteran beaten by teens on camera dies. And this was 2 days ago. Now, here's the thing, though. This was in Pennsylvania again. So I always question this. Pennsylvania, it just seems to have like the lowest of the lows. It says a homeless veteran was beaten at a gas station in Pennsylvania nearly 8 months ago, has died according to ABC 13. The incident was caught on camera at a Sunoco gas station in April. So the surveillance video captured a 51-year-old Robert Barnes being beaten by teens with a hammer, a piece of wood, and punches after police say a 10-year-old boy told his mother he had gotten into an argument with Barnes. The 10-year-old's mother, 34-year-old, has been charged in the case along with a 24-year-old. Also, 3 juveniles were arrested and charged with an attempt of murder, aggravated assault, and simple assault after the attack, which left Barnes in a coma. So this is really sad. You can want to read the story again. It is on Breitbart, so you can find it there. It was 2 days ago, but this is really sad. This poor man died, and that's the way you really want to treat the veterans who had fought for our country. You basically beat them to death because you find them offensive, I'm sure, in some way. That's very lovely. Another interesting story. These were all, they go back from Breitbart to actually Daily Mail. This one was titled on Daily Mail. I'm sorry, I'm getting myself confused. This is what happens when you shut up. It's basically shut up a dog. Florida woman posts photo of her dog with mouth duct taped shut, sparking internet outrage and police investigation. I know this was a few days ago. It was like 2 days ago. Katie Brown of South Dakota, Florida, taped her dog's mouth shut when the pooch barked too much. She posted the photos to Facebook and received numerous complaints. The photo was shared with more than 4,500 times in less than 24 hours. Local police say they have been inundated with calls from far away as Australia, and the investigation are investigating the matter. So that's kind of interesting. Like, people will make a big deal. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing of a dog being abused, but what about when a human being gets abused, or these other violent issues going on in our country with people, basically getting killed and stuff? That doesn't seem to raise as much of an tension as when an animal is under attack. When an animal is being abused, that raises every flag known to man. But when another human being is being severely mutilated, attacked, abused, or killed, it doesn't seem to be that much of an important issue. And I'm sorry for saying that, but it actually really does kind of bother me that people are just that naive to anything else except, except when it comes to animals. Then that's a different story. It seems like it's okay to assault, abuse, sexually, physically, or mentally a human being, but it's not okay to do it to an animal. So that's just my opinion. Once again, making that noted. So I just wish other people would kind of feel the same way. Unfortunately, they don't. And it's very sad, that our country is that way. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at some stuff before I move on. And plus, I just want people to think about that for a minute too. Hopefully, I'm not the only one who, seems to get offended when, only people get. Well, I mean, when people get get brutally beaten or raped or attacked, that doesn't seem to bother people as much as when an animal gets hurt. So I don't know. I think it should be just as important. There's one actually I found on conservativeoutfitters.com, and it says video, which I can't show you, obviously. I can just only read the caption. Black Lives Matter protesters rip down Chicago Christmas tree. I mean, it's like nonstop with the bullshit with what's going on in Chicago. Shocking video has emerged of Black Lives Matter operatives ripping down an official Chicago Christmas tree. What do you think? And leave your comment. Well, there is a ton of comments, and it is on conservativeoutfitters.com if you want to read those. Give people a heads up. Now, here's a really very sad story. I saw this the other day. It kind of, ripped at the heartstrings. This was on the 27th, so this is like over 3 days ago, because it's almost going to be the 30th, November 30th, for me. Tyler is left blind in one eye after drone propeller sliced his eyeball in half. This is on the Daily Mail. So Oscar Webb has been left with life-changing injuries by the accident. So, those drone propeller, model, whatever you call them, those little, they look like model, I don't want to say model planes, but they got propellers on them, actually sliced this poor little child's eye. Gadget was being flown by the family and friends, who is an experienced drone flyer. Well, apparently not that good. The drone clipped a tree in the garden and span wildly out of control. And these are bullet points, by the way. Oscar will need further surgery before the prosthetic eye can be fitted. So the kid has lost one of his eyes now because of these drones, these little flying. They have those propellers on there, 4 of them, as you can picture that. And they're toys basically, but obviously they are very dangerous too, by the sounds of it now. You got to be a little bit cautious. Even as I would be told at work, you got to wear the proper, what we call the PPE, proper protective gear, because when something like that happens, obviously maybe, you got sharp blades, well, not sharp blades, but some type of blades on something. Even when I used to do model rockets years ago when I was a kid, that's like 30 some years ago. You do have to take precautions before you launch these things, because somebody's going to get hurt. This kid, literally, there's always that thing where you might even lose an eye. This child now, this little kid, did lose an eye. So, and that's going to obviously affect them for the rest of their life. They're going to be going around. They can only, they're going to physically have one eye. So, just wanted to bring that to people's attention. Unfortunately, the other stories I did find were not any better. Michael Jones, this was on the 28th of November. Michael Jones accused of feeding son to pigs after beating him to death. Kansas City, Michael Jones has been accused of beating a 7-year-old son and then feeding the boy's remains to pigs. That was actually found from the Dreamin' Demon. Yeah, I just don't understand why. And I've said this, more than once, probably way too many times, but these are the people who are breeding in our country and repopulating the states. And there's another one. It says Axel Somali accused of crushing kitten with bare hands because his sister had his bong. That was also like a couple days ago, the 28th. Chicago, Illinois, police say an 18-year-old Axel crushed a kitten's skull with his bare hands after becoming angry with his sister for not returning his bong. these people have more of a life than I do, but look what they do. Look what they do. I mean, this is, I know it's a cruelty to animal type thing, but still, I did have to mention that one too. The other one was on a child. Most likely, the one on the kitten is going to be taken a lot more seriously than the guy who actually fed his son to a bunch of pigs. That's going to be my guess. I think I might have got this from my friend Todd. I'm almost 100% sure. This was from 2 days ago. PIX 11. Suspect steals cell phone on subway, uploads selfies to Google account, and the NYPD basically mention. Prospect Park, South Brooklyn. Police are searching for a suspect that they say swiped a cell phone from a subway rider and snatched a selfie of himself on the stolen phone in Brooklyn. The 36-year-old victim was texting on his Galaxy S3 phone while riding the Q train around 5:45 a.m. on October 24th in the area of Prospect Park South. Police say that the train pulled into a Beverly Road station. The suspect grabbed the phone from the man's hand and ran off the train. The photo of the suspect was obtained from the victim's Google account. Some smartphone users set up their own phones to automatically update photos to the Google Photo Library. So apparently they were able to, I assume, well, at least they got a mugshot. Submit tips to police by calling, so they didn't get the guy who stole the phone, but they do got a mugshot. One that the guy actually, the person who stole the phone had taken a selfie, and the photo got automatically uploaded to this guy's Google account. So that's pretty smart. For the person who had his phone stolen, that he actually had his phone set up in that way. That is very smart. I got to give him kudos for that. Yeah, I'm probably already out of stories, folks. So I told you it was going to be a very, very short day. Bren did post something on my Facebook page. Thank you, Todd. Fox 29, man hospitalized with serious injuries after e-cigarette explodes in his face. So that's kind of interesting. I thought they were supposed to be better for you if you wanted to smoke. A man's family sharing a story in hopes to keep the accident that happened to their loved one from happening to someone else. It says Memphis, Tennessee. The man was in surgery for most of the day on Sunday in a hospital in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So this actually did happen earlier today. He had sustained fractured vertebrae, facial fractures, and busted teeth, among other injuries, after an electronic cigarette exploded last Friday. That's a real shame, because those things were supposed to help people from smoking, but the man is unfortunately, he's pretty messed up. I really do feel sorry for that guy. So hopefully, they were able to fix. I would probably sue that electronic cigarette company too for, something like that. Because that's uncalled for. Anyway, I'm just doing the one last check on my stories. Again, there is really not much going on the news front for me, which is always good. Means the shows will be shorter, and I'm not going to pull up. I mean, I pull up a lot of trash, but I don't want to pull up any more than what is tolerable for most people to listen to, so to speak. And even that's probably too much. So that being said, and I do want to get up at a decent time tomorrow. Hopefully, everyone, you enjoyed the little bit I did tonight. I didn't expect to really. Never know what I'm going to do a show or not. I just try to keep on top of them when I can, and if I have any new information, I will pass it on. Other than that, I mean, the only other thing I could probably talk about, because it was on sale, but I got it a while back, was the new Sherlock Holmes series, the one with Benedict, I think is his first name. I can't pronounce his last name correctly. Anyway, I was watching, because I watched, it's been on for 3 seasons, which is kind of funny because there's actually only 12 episodes, maybe 13, because there's only 4 episodes, which the director, producer will say, well, because each one's an hour and a half, it's more like a movie, not really a TV show. So I didn't realize I missed one of them. I actually did see now, as of tonight, all 12 of them. And honestly, it started out really good. Some of the episodes are definitely touching, but compare it to Sherlock Holmes, even the movies, I guess, that happened over the past, I want to say past century, over the years. I could quite honestly say it was all right so far, but not spectacular. Even the very last one was interesting, where they were going with it, but and I honestly, to a point, I really did like the Sherlock Holmes, but the very last one for this season, they brought back, apparently he was not killed, was Professor Moriarty, which is his arch enemy, even in the stories from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But I was watching it, and it was like the very last second of Sherlock, the very last episode, the very last second, after the credits were rolling, they said, oh yeah, Professor Moriarty is still alive. He's not dead. So that's the only thing. They brought one villain in for the last episode for last season. Other than that, the character was pretty cool. But it just seems like the solutions are too simple sometimes. Where, the new series, I mean, it's not like the way I expected the Sherlock when I would watch the shows done by Jeremy Brett, which were based truly right out of the text. And I was led to enjoy and believe, because I've never really read the novels or the stories, that Sherlock Holmes never used a weapon. He would basically, his intelligence was good enough to solve the crime. But there was already 2 shows, episodes, what they like to call mini movies or whatever, or like independent films, which they really aren't. They're just episodes on the BBC, on the new series. His solution was basically to just murder the villain. And, I don't know. That old saying, I don't think that fits appropriately, but I'm going to use it. One a friend used or told me before: fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. And that would probably be the closest I can get on how to describe the new Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, I let it go, dismissed it once when Sherlock's solution was to kill the villain. The second time, it's just like, okay, this is just getting a little ridiculous. You literally, guns down, point blank, Sherlock in the new series, the very last episode, the bad guy. And it was like, well, maybe there was no other solution, but the problem was it was just a very simple solution. And also there was like, now that I think of it, I didn't think I was going to go this far with it. They actually did one, because that's a holiday in Europe. I mean, in England, not Europe, but in England. That it's called Guy Fawkes Day, and that's basically Independence Day. Because I had a British guy who works at my job, and I used to tell him, "Oh yeah, hey, happy Guy Fawkes Day on November 5th." And he said, "Yeah, well, yeah, Guy Fawkes Day." He explained it to me is basically, again, it's Independence Day in England. That's what how England celebrates their Independence Day. Their whatever you want to our 4th of July for them is November 5th. So bottom line, that's how they do it. And it was like, oh, that's cool. It's interesting to follow other cultures or whatever you want to call it. So they did one on Sherlock. That's what I wanted to get to. They did a Sherlock where they incorporated Guy Fawkes. Now, there was that movie made years ago, which most people don't know, don't understand, but I don't know how to explain this correctly. I'm going to try to. But in case you didn't know, their movie was called V for Vendetta. Well, that was based upon a book by Alan Moore, I believe his name is. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick, and then I'll give my explanation. Yes, Alan Moore. He writes a lot of graphic novels. Most of them are pretty well known. He's an English man too, so that should say a lot. He's English. He's British. So Alan Moore is known for his graphic novels were basically Watchmen. I think From Hell was definitely one. They're showing the movies, but his graphic novels were A Batman, The Killing Joke, From Hell, Lost Girls, Watchmen, Swamp Thing, believe it or not, V for Vendetta, and many other ones. These were all graphic novels. They're basically more adulterated comic books, to say the least. Alan Moore is an eccentric man to begin with, but he did one on a graphic novel called V for Vendetta, which the movie was very distorted from the graphic novel because they made sure in the movie adaptation to make it very political, pertaining to more of the U.S. politics, which really was not what V Vendetta, the comic book, the graphic novel, was meant to be. It was about this man who was trying to succeed where Guy Fawkes had failed on, who wanted to destroy Parliament. So, they probably kept it quite close to the original story, but then there was the changes just to put political mudslinging pertaining to the U.S. into the movie that was incorporated from the graphic novel. So anyway, going back to where I started, there was a Sherlock Holmes episode with Benedict as Holmes, where there's this villain, and I can't remember if it was Professor Moriarty, I think it was, tries to make sure he can blow up Parliament, but he does it precisely, no difference at all, to what Alan Moore had written in his book, or his graphic novel, I should say, of V for Vendetta. He basically, the Professor Moriarty, actually, or whatever, Dr. Moriarty, Professor Moriarty, I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. I should know this. Doesn't really matter. Professor Moriarty. They show actually the actor who plays it, Andrew Scott, plays Professor Moriarty on Sherlock. So anyway, what was I going to mention? So yeah, he actually hijacks a train under the the subway in London, and make sure to detach one of the cars and make sure that the car was on an abandoned, train track, which then was filled with explosives to blow up Parliament. So that was taken literally right out of, the V for Vendetta graphic novel. I'm not going to say the movie, but the graphic novel. So that being said, it was just kind of really, really sad that, even on, pretty well respected, I would say, Sherlock, which I did like for the longest time, that they would actually stoop to the level of stealing from a graphic novel, that had nothing to do with, any of the Sherlock stories that I know of. I could be stand corrected, but I seriously doubt it. It just felt like a total ripoff of, you know, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, of Alan Moore's V for Vendetta. So, you know, that's literally stooping to a brand new low. And that being said, I mean, it just kind of was kind of depressing. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to mention that, but now I did, so. Now, here's an interesting story. I was going to read this. I'm going to have to mention this now. I wish I was this lucky. Chris Helmsworth, who plays on, he plays in the Avengers movie. I just seen this. This was posted, and I just posted it myself. Paid off his parents' debts. I guess he made enough money. He's in the Avengers movies. He, he plays Thor. So yeah, it says Chris Helmsworth and his brother Liam and Luke grew up loving in a loving, supportive household that was anchored by their loving mother Leona and an English teacher, and their kind-hearted father Craig Helmsworth, a social services counselor. Make a long story short, it's titled that basically he pays off his parents' debts. That's got to be every parent's dream, to have a child that doesn't forget where they came from. So, yeah. That's very cool. It just actually was posted now. So I had no intentions of reading it until just I got posted now. So maybe I should just do one more check before I sign off for tonight, because there's always something that kind of catches my attention. Yeah, so. Yeah, and again, it's winding down this year, unfortunately. It's gone very fast for, I think, everyone. I may have actually ran out of things to say, which is good, because I've been trying to figure out a way to sign off. I just want to make sure I don't lose anything that may have caught my interest. So, folks, I keep on saying this. Maybe the show actually did get a little longer than I expected, but I hope you enjoy whatever I do. Hopefully I don't bore people at all. And if so, apologize, but I try to make it interesting the best way I know how. So, folks, have a good evening. It actually will be soon on Monday morning by the time I put this up. So, thanks again for listening if you are.